So from my perspective, isn't what it was now what isn't the decision just based off the reality that the Supreme Court sorry, isn't what the ruling is saying is just that the president has to be impeached and that the president by definition is the executive branch. So how can the executive branch prosecute itself?
No, the ruling in that case was that any power that is given to the president exclusively, the usage of that power is 100% non-judicially reviewable across the board, no matter how its usage is being done. Let me give you an example because I think this will really help you understand what this entails, right? So let's use the example of the pardoning power, right? The pardoning power is a power that only the president has. He's the only person who can ever pardon a person. Technically,
Yeah.
you can get like state pardons, but that's a whole fucking process. He's the only person that can issue federal pardons, right? So because he's the only person that can because he's the only person that can pardon people federally, that means that the action of a pardon is unreviewable across the board, no matter what. Meaning, if he just pardons, say he pardons a bad person, someone we all know is a horrible person, like a serial killer, that is, you can't even look into why he did that. You can't even go to court and try to like garner information as to why he did that. And in that regard, I
So
don't
that's
necessarily.
the
No, but listen.
that's the definition of a pardon
Yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So let me hear me out. In that regard, what I was gonna say is, in that regard, I would agree. Like, I think it actually, if you're just pardoning people, like that's literally that is your power to do so. It's completely your power. So I wouldn't disagree. Now let me give you a secondary scenario. Let's say there was a guy. Let's say let's say he did like a pretty small crime, but something that would land you in federal prison. I don't know. Maybe fucking robbery. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. If I could say grand larceny. I mean, that's a big thing. But let's say
White collar crime. You said like they steal a painting.
yeah, white collar crimes are good. Let's say like let's use white collar crime. Let's say like market manipulation, since there's a little bit of market manipulation accusations going around right now. Let's say it's a white collar crime. You're in prison for market manipulation. Okay, let's say you don't really want to be in prison anymore, and you're a real rich guy. Let's say Elon Musk got convicted of market manipulation. He goes to jail for he goes to prison for a few years, and he decides he doesn't really want to be there anymore. So he goes, "Hey, President Trump, how about this? How about I give you $1 billion for a pardon?" What we would call that a bribe. But because the pardon power is unique to the president, you cannot do anything about it. He is allowed to be bribed in that way.
Yeah, but I mean, again, the whole point of isn't the whole point of your life that we're supposed to believe in the rule of law, which I consider to be a good thing, and that this is you're just describing the pardon power as it's written here.
He's using the pardon power to commit an underlying crime. In that example
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
not
gave you.
saying that's good. I think that their point is that the way the system is set up is that I mean, at least in theory, the public and the voters are supposed to not be so stupid as to put someone like that in the position of power in the first place.
You would think.
Maybe my question is just where are you deriving this power to? I'm not saying so the agreement. We obviously everyone agrees you should not. You know, it's bad morally to be bribing public officials to pardon you. What we're discussing is from a rule of law perspective. Where does this power to prosecute him for taking the bribe come from?
Well, because bribery is a crime, and so the president is not normally would never have been considered to be immune from criminal charges. Bribery is a crime. Bribing a public official to use their power in a way that you want them to use it would be a crime.
So then, why can't they prosecute him on that grounds?
It's called
Well, I mean, in this case,
unsubstantial position, meaning the crime is not being brought up because he used the pardon. It is just brought up because it is the pardon used to elicit something clearly illegal by law books or like by rule of law. So it's more of like the pardon, because they don't have a problem with the pardon. They don't even have a problem with the action of the pardon. It's just like, for example, if it's a bit of an extreme example, but let's just say that the president was hit up by someone and was like, I want to go harm this person. And they tell the president they're going to go harm this person. But to use Andrew's example, they pay the president $1 billion for the pardon. He would be liable for the crime of eliciting dangerous threat, but not because of the pardon, just because the person committed a threat under his knowledge and law. Just like how if he was to accept the bribe, he knows it's illegal, he accepted it, and he would be charged based on the fact that he knew it was illegal and still let it happen.
yeah. Thank you, sir. Isn't the kind of obvious? Isn't there just an obvious point that there's already a mechanism for trying the president, which is the uh, uh, putting him in front of Congress, and then they vote on whether he's guilty or innocent
Yeah, you could still be impeached,
by
but
impeaching
impeachment only entails removal from office. The idea that I'm trying to posit is that the president shouldn't be immune from criminal prosecution if they've committed crimes. And there's nowhere in the Constitution that you could derive that from. That's why I say that's the one case over the past like decade where I think the Supreme Court just made some shit up.
So,
Congress would still be able to remove him from office for doing something
yeah,
illegal, but he wouldn't be able to
removing
be
him.
charged.
So basically, right? Wait, because I didn't follow up on Trump v. United States. So their ruling was because he has immunity, they can't do shit about it.
If the underlying action was derived from a core power of the president. So the example I gave you of like bribery via the or bribery for a pardon, he would be immune. He would be immune from any prosecution around that scenario.
Yeah, yeah.
Even
Well,
though it's a clear
didn't
crime.
he also? Yeah, didn't he also have charges that he committed while not in presidential power that they put under that umbrella?
No. So the like knock-on effects of that case was in relation to the January 6th cases.
Mm-hmm.
And the evidence that was going to be used against him was largely testimony between like officials that work in the executive branch, and communication with executive branch officials is also core to the presidency. As well as ordering them. So the argument was you can't use or not the argument. The ruling ended up being you can't actually use any of that evidence against Trump in this case because
it's inadmissible. Yeah, because he's president in that way and he's able to give them orders and issue them orders. Then it wouldn't make sense to try him based on those tests. Oh,
right.
That's
so
bullshit.
A big part of their evidence was when he ordered the Department of Justice to send fake He ordered the DOJ to send fake letters to the states attesting that they had found voter fraud, even though they didn't. But he wanted the states to think that they had. That the order to give the testimony surrounding the order to give to send those letters out to the states was a big like crux of the case, and that because of the Trump U.S. ruling, that all of that testimony became inadmissible.
I mean, do you think there's any possibility that President Obama, while he was in office,
Oh shit! Hey, unmute your mic.
Oh, hello.
I didn't mean to mute you. That was a total accident.
No worries. Yeah, do you think so I think it was Stalin who said, show me the man, show me the crime.
Wait, hold on just 1 second. Dina, I will as soon as we're done with this conversation, I'll let you up, I swear. Okay. Is there any possibility that what?
Obama did not commit a crime while he was in office? There are like a million laws on the books.
No, I'm sure you could. I'm sure with every president, you could probably find one. If you wanted to find one, you could find one.
So don't you think it makes sense for the founders to try to not allow presidents to be attacked in this way?
Well, the argument would be are the charges being brought in good faith? Like I said, you could probably find one, but the problem is you'd probably not be able to prove anything because you'd have to prove for 99% of crimes you have to prove criminal intent, right? So you could argue like, well, Obama did this thing. Obama did this thing and it was illegal.
Put him in a court in some random Alabama town, where everyone hates him, and we'll see how that goes.
I mean, you have like full right to. Or in my opinion, you should have if you truly, honest to God, like if there's evidence that a president has committed a crime, it should be reviewable. You should be able to look into that, and you should be able to charge if there was a crime committed. My point being, because of Trump v. U.S., now you cannot.
Okay.
And I think that they pulled. My argument isn't necessarily whether that's good or bad. I mean, I will tell you, I think it's bad, but that's not. I'm not arguing on the merits. I'm arguing on they didn't derive that from anything.
I just don't see how the country benefits from criminally prosecuting presidents or former presidents.
Because if the president shouldn't be immune. We
got
rid of the whole king shit back in the 1700s. We don't want to go back there.
Wait, so I have a question. So does it depend on the crime or crime in general? Because if the president, right, like just let's say, because this is a hyperbolic scenario, to be clear, but that's how I convey my examples. If the president was taking a walk off White House premises, as people like to say, what if he was just walking in broad daylight and pew somebody in broad daylight in Times Square? Do you think that he should be prosecutable for that crime?
Are you asking me or him?
Him.
No, my point is that there's already a procedure, which is the impeachment process.
But impeachment is just removing him from office. It is not holding him liable to the crime. It's just there to be like, the crime is the reason we're removing you. It doesn't mean that the impeachment will then retroactively charge him correctly for the crime he's committed.
I mean, the goal isn't justice for the sake of justice here. This is how you end up with like Roman politics stuff where everyone's prosecuting each other and bringing down the system. The goal is remove him from power and keep people like that out of power.
So
I
you
don't.
think no matter what the president does, they should not be able to be held accountable for it.
The impeachment is holding him accountable. I
Well,
don't
it's
see that.
not.
I mean,
It's
not
just
no, it's not though, because then he just walks away and continues to live his life as normal. And in Trump's case, it would be really like it wouldn't affect him almost at all. He wouldn't be president anymore, but he's still a billionaire that could just go. I mean, back to Mar-a-Lago to play golf for the rest of his life. Do you think if the president was doing something truly awful and truly criminal at its core, something horrible in nature, that he should just be able to walk back off to his golf course and live out the rest of his life fine?
because impeachment is not a punishment. It's
He,
just
he,
the
he knows. He's just saying like
Yeah,
you
I think you guys are just really focused on Trump and ignoring
It's
the
not Trump. No,
immense
we're not. We're not.
the
Stop.
immense
Stop.
the immense
You're straw manning. You're straw manning
consequences.
so hard.
Okay.
You're straw manning so hard. It's not just Trump. I agree with you. Anyone. I'm saying
It's
if a president committed a crime, a truly horrible crime, my argument is they should be able to be held accountable. It shouldn't just be you just get to keep go. You just
this
get to walk
applies
off
to
into the
every
sunset.
president.
Yeah.
This applies to Obama, Biden, all of them. If they commit
Like
truly heinous and horrible crimes, they should be held accountable. It is not just this president in specific. Yeah. But continue, my brother.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all your thoughts.
Yeah,
Both
thank
of
you. Thank you for coming up. Appreciate you, bro.
Bye.
yeah, that's a wild position, huh?
I'm not gonna lie because that's why I kept asking so many clarifying questions to try to give him a little bit of an out. Like, so do you mean no crime he commits? That's why I used the very extreme example.
Yeah. Also, in your scenario, I don't want to correct you, but in your scenario, there would be no core presidential power to invoke. So if he did just like walk out onto the street and just pop somebody, he would definitely be arrested and convicted for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there would be no core power that he can invoke, unless he wants to make the argument that like, well, I'm the president, I'm the head of the FBI. I was trying to effectuate an arrest, and the guy resisted, and so I had to shoot him. I don't know, like.
Yeah.
But there's no at least the evidence wouldn't be inadmissible because there is no core presidential power that could be invoked there. The weird scenarios are when you start getting into like his orders to, like, for instance, I'll give you an example that would be immune. If Trump ordered Kash Patel to go shoot somebody, then because you couldn't probe the conversation. You couldn't say like you could never say like, did you order Kash Patel to do this?
Yeah, because it's protected. Okay,
Yeah, you couldn't ask him like, did you order Kash Patel to do this? He would just say presidential immunity, bitch, and like you couldn't do anything.